Welcome to the Rick Williams Show. My name is Dale Garfield. Today we have a very special guest with us, Rod Grimes. Rod Grimes, man, welcome to the Rick Williams Show.
Hey, Dale. Nice to be back. Thank you very much.
We've had Rod here a couple months ago, and we had such a good time. I had a chance to interview him about his new book he released a couple months ago called The Blue in Me. And I tell you, it was a good read. I had a chance to go through it and then go and pull out some questions and then be able to sit back and have an opportunity to put him in the hot seat and launch those questions at him. And we had an awesome time.
Yes, we did.
How was that for you when we had that opportunity to sit in these chairs?
I had a great time with it. It was a delight to sit here and answer your questions, Dale, after you read the book. And it was just a great conversation.
Well, we have a little time here.
Mm-hmm.
That was about a couple of months ago. What has changed? The book has been released. You had some book signings.
Yes.
We have some things that we want to get through in this session, but take some time to fill us in.
Okay. Well, thanks, Dale. I'm very excited. Book one, The Blue in Me, launched in February, as you know. Hit the market. It's doing very well. I'm really excited about that. And here's something I haven't shared with you yet. I actually have been approached by a couple of movie producers has some interest, and we're talking about that and either making this book a movie or a TV series.
Right, that is awesome. I am so proud of you. I'm just your ability to just, first of all, go through the experience of law enforcement in itself and then be able to come out on the other side and to be able to share that information in a book. And then now you're telling me it's possible that it may be on the screen?
This is true. This is what I'm hearing. I've been
Did you guys hear
pleasantly
that?
surprised.
That's awesome. Well, it's been a lot of book signings.
There has, yes, throughout the year.
Let's talk about that. We have, we're getting familiar, getting everybody up to speed, from the first video to now. Take us through that. We had time to where the book was released. You had a book signing. How does that feel?
It was great. It was a great experience, Dale, to be out in the community and just to meet individuals who took the opportunity to support me and purchase the book. And then read it and give me their feedback, which was phenomenal, Dale. I mean, I'm just still blown away by all the great reviews and responses that I gotten back from those that have read the book. I had some book signings, as you know. The book signings were very interesting. Did one over at the Detroit Main Library, which was pretty exciting for me. Had a talking session with the audience, which was fun and engaging. And then I did some book signings over at a few different restaurants, one over at my church. So just all around town, had an opportunity to get out there and share the book with those that were interested in purchasing, sign it. That's always fun to be able to sign your name to the book and present it to them. So it's been a great year.
Man, I tell you, I'm just looking back at earlier this year. We were here, and you had just released the book. Went through the summer, went through the fall, went through some book signings.
Yes.
Got some invitations to do some greater and bigger things.
Yeah.
Well, from my standpoint, it has been a lot of good positive reviews from the book. There's been a lot of questions
I'm sure.
that were generated, not only here in Michigan. We got questions coming in from California, Georgia. We have some questions coming in from some, other places throughout the nation.
Wow, yeah.
How does that make you feel?
That's pretty exciting. I'm humbled and thankful that the book is touching and impacting and bringing that type of interest and curiosity out of readers that they will take the energy and effort to send in questions. I mean, that's wonderful. Very exciting.
Wow. If you guys just could bear with me, because I have had to pull through a list of questions that were addressed about this book, The Blue and Me, and they are directed to Rod Grimes. If you would allow me this opportunity to just read some of these questions from your, people that have read the book.
Okay.
They just want to know. And I'm curious. I went through a couple of them here, but I'm curious as well to hear your responses to some of these questions here. So
Love to.
let's get started. You
Let's
ready?
get into it. Let's do it.
All right. So we get down and just hunker down because we're about to get into some questions here. The first question here comes from Charles. Charles asks, it took the city of Detroit years to start being recognized as a city that was being revitalized. What actions would you take that would help move the needle of revitalization further in the city of Detroit Police Department?
Wow. Man, that's a strong question right out the gate. So thanks, Charles, for the question. Um, I think one of the key things that any city and city leadership can do to further engage its community, which is going to help revitalize the city, is going to help pique that interest for others that may want to come into the city and visit the city. I think policing is a critical component to that. And one of the things that make a community comfortable with its police agency is transparency. When a police agency will work and be transparent about their actions, it gives the community that comfort level that they can count on their police department to be honest, good or bad. And we all know good and bad sometimes happen. But when you can be transparent during those difficult times when an officer may have went left when they probably should have went right, but stand on it and take the necessary corrective actions to also show that your community, that you are willing to do it the right way, and when you don't, make the corrections to get it right.
So I want to jump in here in this question, and thanks for the question, Charles. I want to kind of expound on why did it take so long? What hindered that transparency? Was it the union? If you don't want to talk about it, I understand. Was it, city council? Was it mayor? Where was the problem that caused the transparency in your view?
So I think just the way policing was managed over the years, over the decades. This isn't like I became a policeman in the late 70s. This go back well prior to that. You can just go back to time when policing was, when something was done wrong by the police department. Many times it was like, we're not going to talk about it publicly. We'll deal with it the way we need to deal with it, perhaps in the courts if there's a lawsuit or whatever that may come as a result of it. But didn't want to talk about it. Didn't want to be open to the community. And I think that's something that has changed over the years, recent years. And I think that in itself give the community that lift. I can trust and believe in my department. Because even when they get it wrong, they own it and they go about the business of fixing it.
You know, again, if I can jump in there, I'm hard when it comes down to questions. So give me the reality. If you have a partner and you're looked upon as, hey, this is my partner, I have to have his back. So when he messes up and he that partner has to bring light to that mess up, it's kind of a double-edged sword there in transparency. How would you suggest you bring transparency when there's for lack of a better word, that code there?
Yes. It's funny. When I came along in the 70s, the code was always have your partner's back, no matter what. Always have your partner's back. Things have changed, and I would say they've changed for the better, because always having your partner's back doesn't always mean making sure that no matter what, you have their back. Always have their back in ensuring that we're getting it right and doing things the right way.
Doing it right.
What's more important is always having your community's back.
Good. Good. And there's a kind of a thin line there of walking it with your partner, but making sure that you have that balance.
Absolutely.
Man, I tell you that, okay, we're going to move forward here. So we have Michael. Michael asks, what do you feel is the most impactful thing that you have brought to law enforcement during your career?
Professionalism. I can remember, and when you read the book, you'll see that my parents always taught me, whatever you do your best to be your best. So with that built in me, it was always do it the right way. And when you don't, because we're not perfect, own it and be willing to make the necessary corrections. So I say that in that being the example, or trying to always be an example of how to do it the right way. I didn't get it right every time, but always strive to do that. And when you be that example, especially when you have those that are coming behind you, let them see you doing it the right way. And that was impactful for me. And then also as you move up in rank, you have a bigger impact because now you are a leader. If it's sergeant level, well, now you have a shift of officers that are working, under your leadership.
You have influence.
You influence them. So influence them in a positive way. I had the pleasure to serve all the way at the highest level as a chief of police. So now I have a whole department of individuals looking at me, as well as a whole community, because the chief is the face of that community, whatever it may be. And so doing it the right way is always the way that you can be most impactful and make a biggest difference.
So at what point, I know a little bit about you, I know I read the book.
Yeah.
From sergeant to chief, was there a changing of the mind that brought upon this professionalism, or did you carry it from the academy all the way through, or what caused that change? What impacted, or what was the catalyst that brought on Rod Grimes?
So just for clarity, I was a sergeant in one department and retired, moved to a second department, got elevated to the rank of sergeant in that department. And then in that department, the second department, I went from sergeant to chief. But with all that being said, there still was a drastic jump from sergeant to chief. So what was the change within me? There's a saying, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So I was already there with that level of doing it the right way.
Professionalism.
And being a professional.
Right. So That's awesome. Going from sergeant to chief, saying that you're being prepared, pressing the issue here. I'm still looking for that, man, I got 200 people, man, that's up under me.
Yeah.
I'm being watched.
Yeah.
I'm an example. They're watching me. How did that make you feel?
Well, it certainly did not make me uncomfortable to be watched, as because I am now the leader. Um, when I took over as chief of the department that I was chief, I had over 500 individuals working under me. It was not a shocking thing for me to lead, because leading is something that I've had the pleasure of doing most of my life. So again, being able to be confident in myself that I'm doing it the right way, demonstrating to others, being that example, uh, it was not a shock. Yeah.
Okay. So we have Mastermind Men who has a question here. What is the best change you have seen in policing since your start?
Well, I'll tell you again, you may hear me repeat this like over and over, but transparency. Back when I started, transparency with our community was not a big thing. It took almost an act of Congress to get law enforcement agencies to reveal information to the public. That has changed, and I think it's very important that it continue to grow and develop how agencies are transparent to give the community the level of confidence that will make them want to support their police department. Now, with that being said, obviously there are certain things that during an investigation that you cannot, release until the prosecutor office have an opportunity to look at and review and see if there's going to be criminal charges brought. But having the opportunity to share with the community the actions of the event sooner than later is a big thing.
Good. So jumping off the pages here back into my head,
Yeah.
listening to you talk, I'm sitting here like, what Rod Grimes took out a pen and start writing down his life in law enforcement. You have a book.
Yes.
Is there anything that stands out to you where you would say, man, I wish that I could have driven this home a little bit more in this chapter, or I didn't really get a chance to make my point here? And you're looking at this final book and you're like, man, I wish I would have added this. What are some of those things?
Wow. That's a hard question, Dale.
Well, you came
Believe
here.
it or not, that's a
You
hard
chose
question
to
right
sit here.
there.
You know me.
Right. Um, Something that I would have driven home a little harder. Um, I would say maybe not necessarily in any particular chapter in the book, but to drive home to the readers how important it is for our readers to understand the difficult job of doing police work. That is such an incredibly difficult challenge because you're going out into the world. It's never the same. It may be the same type of event, but it's never the same because you're dealing with different individuals and everyone's going to react and respond a little different. So to really try to get into the mind space of our readers and get them to understand that you can't look at policemen singularly. we represent one and the same, yes, but we're all individuals putting our own individual identity, personality into the work that we're doing. And in doing that, everyone's gonna perform a little different. Some at a higher level than others. Some at a more compassionate level than others. So with all that being said, Dale, understand that police officers are human and give them grace for when they don't meet the expectation that you may have for them. I believe police officers go out to do their job and do the best they can to serve in their communities. Some will serve and it will show at a higher level than others, but it doesn't mean that one that is not shining isn't trying his best.
Just in our pre-interviews, I've learned a lot. That if that information was broadcast on a higher level, it would bring some awareness to what law enforcement agents go through. That will probably help, you know, in that community interaction. You know, you would think that, man, that gun or the firearm or the badge would be, you know, that number one piece that you would hold to your heart. But I'm sitting looking at, man, there's something in your wallet that goes deeper to bringing you together. It's a prayer,
Yes.
something that you, not only you, but something that officers carry with them. Talk about that. I just found this out.
Yeah. Yeah. There's the officer's prayer for protection. Yes, we suit up, armor up, put our weapons on. We have our badge to identify us as people of authority. But at the end of the day, we pray up and we're covered. And that's what we ask for, is to be covered with prayer, grace, and blessings to get us through our day and through our tour duty. Because we see and do things that most would never want to have to do or see. But it's part of the job. And in that, you just want to have that covering of you when you go out there and perform.
Right.
So that prayer of protection, it's something that many, many, many officers carry with them, and they lean on that.
Good.
Yeah.
We had an opportunity to, in the first half of our interview, to just talk about, some of the questions that, some of the readers have had about the book. We're going to spend a lot of time in the second half dealing with a subject of mental illness.
Yes.
It seems to be something that we didn't hear about in the 70s, 80s, but now we're hearing a lot about it.
Yes.
So, I have my questions. We have some of the readers that have their questions. So we're going to kind of like step off into that a little bit.
Sure.
So we have Brett here. Thanks for your question, Brett. Brett wants to know, how has the science of harm reduction impacted policing? And what policies have changed as a result?
Yeah. So harm reduction and self-harm, when an individual chooses to harm themselves, for a police officer, we wear many hats, and being able to identify and then interact with someone that have that feel or that need to self-harm, And then you have to look at, I mean, that's such a big onion to peel. Why do someone want to do that to themselves? That's a whole nother side of it. But from the police side, how do we handle someone? Well, first and foremost, you want to, when you arrive, you obviously need to assess the situation. What is the person doing? Are they an immediate harm to themselves or others? So you're going to assess. You're going to do everything you can to de-escalate the situation. And it's everyone's going to respond and react differently when they see a police uniform. So that's why I think it's very critical, and I think it was very important that police agencies, including Detroit, created a crisis intervention team, which is comprised of community activists, your mental health sector, and police officers alike. So they show up on the scene when you have a person going through a crisis, and you utilize those resources in the way that they're going to best fit that particular situation. And I think having those components in place, which I tell you, we did not have that back when I was a young officer. And it's a great tool to allow police, with the assistance of the additional resources there, to help an individual that may find it in their mind necessary to hurt themselves. And then you look at, why are they trying to hurt themselves? What's causing that? Is it the bullying? Is it the abuse at home? Is it some type of drug addiction? It can just be a number of things that's causing someone to feel like this is where they need to be.
In journalism, the job is to bring awareness and connect the two minds together. So for our viewers, can you just briefly give us a definition? Because there's so many different definitions that have come out through the years of mental illness. Can you break down what the science of harm means?
Mm-hmm. So my understanding of the science of harm is simply someone that chooses to self-harm themselves, be it cutting themselves, overdosing, taking drugs, threatening to anything that you can think of that's doing harm to themselves. So that's the definition that I understand.
So when this training was implemented, how was it received within the department?
Like most things that are new, it always comes with a little pushback.
We don't need it.
We don't
Why
need
do
it.
we
Why?
need this?
Exactly. But I think once officers actually get into it and get involved in it, they understand that it's a great resource that's going to help them be productive and effective, as opposed to being hardcore hands-on,
Right.
which isn't always the best approach.
So you utilized the word de-escalation.
Yes.
Can you explain to our viewers a little bit about that process of de-escalation?
Sure.
And how it helps to identify?
So de-escalating is maybe just using a softer tone when you're speaking with someone, being empathetic with them, understanding. I understand why you may be feeling this way, but there's a better way, there's a different way, and not necessarily using the hard stick of, oh, why are you doing that to yourself? And you need to stop that. Come on, you're going with us. You know what? You keep that up, you're going to jail. Those were old ways of doing it.
Right.
Those were the old ways. Now it's more, no, I understand how you could feel this way. I'm not in your situation, but let me help. Let me understand why you feel this way.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Rick Williams Show. Please join us every Monday for new episodes on Facebook, YouTube, Rick.tv, and the Rick TV app by way of Apple TV, Fire TV, and Roku. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Join us again next time on The Rick Williams Show. Until then, be blessed.